So this is a Wagner tuning intercooler. This thing is massive, huge. So that should be pretty cool. It should offer a good amount of intercooling. So now I have to remove the front bumper. I've done this a few times. Essentially, there's these 5 clips up here you need to undo. The braces don't need to come off, they can stay. Back behind the headlight, there's that 10mm bolt that needs to come off. That holds the bumper onto the fender. On the back side, mine's a little different here, but there's also a 10mm bolt that would be right about here on an OEM car. That needs to come out, and then there's a few along the bottom. There's pop clips similar to the ones that are up top. There's a few that come along the front of the bumper and the inner fender liner. There's a few across the bottom, and then that should allow you to pull the bumper. That's held on with a couple clips here that kind of pop into place or pop up out of place. There's some clips along the bottom here, so you have to pull and pull out this way, and then here as well. Once you get the bumper off a few inches, you got to remember not just completely come off, because over on this side, I don't think you can see it, but right there where the screwdriver is kind of pointing at, there is a clip that holds the wiring harness from the bumper, from the forward collision system and the sensors to the rest of the car. So that needs to come off there as well. That's the only place where there's a harness, and that should pull the front bumper off entirely. And again, across the bottom, about there, 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 there are going to be some of the same style clips like this. I don't think I'm going to record myself taking the bumper off. I've done this a few times in a couple previous videos. Alright, so bumper is off. Again, relatively easy. A couple clips, a couple 10mm bolts, and you're done. So, time to remove that one and install that one. Removal is fairly easy. Just got to separate that pipe right there from where they merge. Unbolt that clamp. This clamp off the throttle body, and that middle clamp you can kind of see there. And that will remove this. Of course, removing the OEM system's a little bit different. Most of the same process, except that there's some brackets here holding the OEM intercooler in place, which actually you reuse those brackets to install that one, which is kind of nice to be able to reuse some of the OEM hardware. Of course, for everything else, they do give you plenty of hardware to use for the other stuff. The CX kit, unfortunately, was a little lacking. I had to reuse some of the OEM stuff for repurpose, rather would be the better word to say. Some of the OEM stuff to make it get on there. Of course, it looked good, but in terms of functionality, this should be an improvement. So I have most of the old intercooler off. Actually, I have the old intercooler off already. A couple of changes that need to happen in order for the Wagner to fit is, well, one, because of its size, you do need to remove the crash beam, and there's a 12mm bolt right there and right there on either side. And then something else is this oil cooler. You actually need to shift it to the back side of this bracket. So unbolt it here, unbolt it there, shift it to the back, and then bolt everything back on together. So that's kind of interesting, but that's part of the process. The air guide, I thought I was going to need this again, but apparently that does not work either with the new intercooler. So just in the middle of doing that. They do give you some pretty detailed instructions in German and English, so that's all there. And yeah, gotta keep going. Now if anybody wants to get super technical, yes, there is a 10 mil nut right that needs to come off on either end. That just kind of holds it in place. It's definitely not for structure purposes. And yes, this crash bar does come back on after you've installed the intercooler. It does come back on. You don't keep that off. That would be silly. Alright, it's a little more progress made. Top bracket that holds it firmly in place. And there's this little air guide. Keeps all the air flowing right into the intercooler. And down here you do use the OEM bottom bracket. Not the OEM top bracket, but the OEM bottom one that holds everything in place there. I did take some comparison photos to the CX Racing. This thing is massive, and way back there is the OEM one, which is just ridiculously tiny. So yeah, install continues. Alright, so the intercooler is completely in. The way it works is it uses the OEM collector and that pipe that goes there. Then it replaces this here. It goes to the intercooler. Then you have this coupler that comes over and up, where it joins with this pipe here down there, and then the pipe comes over and into the throttle body. I just need to move over the map sensor, hook up the vacuum line that goes here, and that'll be completely done. Where is this? So this is this one goes here. The OEM air guide, that goes there. So it does work with the OEM. It will not, however, work with my Velocitech ducts, because these would hit there. So looks like you can use the OEM or just keep them off, whatever your preference is. But it's designed, the intercooler is designed to work around the OEM design of the car, and then maximize the airflow at the front. So that's it. Mostly done. Just gotta button up a few things and reassemble. So it's dark now. I didn't give myself enough time in the morning, so I had to go to work. It's now nighttime, but bumper's on. Well, it's just placed in there. I still need to bolt it all on. Should only take me a few minutes. But this is what it will look like with the intercooler in there, if you have your grill cut out. So if you don't have the grill cut out, factory grill is actually blocked off till right about here. So you would have this entire area completely open where the actual fins are. I actually think it's kind of cool. You can see the sticker. The way I have mine set up. But that is how it will look. Just need to add the flares to the fender and bolt it all up now, which is pretty easy. It's same process as before. 5 clips that go here, bolts on the side, and depending on the way you have the bottom set up, there's another 4 or 5 down here, but that's it. Oh, and the small bolt that goes there. Pretty simple process, should only be about another 10 more minutes or so to button this back together. It's going to take me a few more minutes to put the wide body bumper flares, I guess, on. So just about done. Up here, pretty clean. I guess I might have to switch over to the black intakes so that it kind of fits a little better. And yes, my garage is a mess. And the car's finally back together. So just had to put those back on after the bumper. So I'll get some shots tomorrow as well. But that's what it looks like. Kind of like it's a little stealthy. And all that is intercooler up there. So on either side of the grill, you're still getting from this side this way air that's going to go up towards your intake ducts on either side. But if you look, you can see how there's that shroud that gets installed, so it guides air right into the intercooler. Pretty cool design. But that's it. Instructions that they provide, pretty easy to follow. Basic tools you'd have at home, except for the riv nut tool. That is a tool you have to buy. I think you can get those on Amazon for 30-40 bucks. It's for an M5 riv nut insert that you have to do. You have to do 2 of them for the bracket. But that is it. Install is done.